How's it going, guys? Matt with MotoWorks here, and I think BMW may have solved the problem. That's right, guys. If you have a G310 and it is giving you starter issues or charging system issues, I think BMW has solved that issue with what's in this box. Mainly the starter clutch issue and also the charging issue that you have with these bikes. So before I open the box, I want to talk a little bit about some of the issues that I've experienced, and those range from starter clutches failing, charging systems not working where the stator isn't putting out enough voltage to recharge the battery. And recently I put a video together going over the charging system and how to test it to tell if your charging system's bad and what component has failed. And literally right after I put that video together, we had another G310 come in, and wait till you see this. This is what the flywheel looks like. If you look in there, what you'll see is this bolt has backed out of the starter clutch mount. There's 6 bolts that mount the starter clutch, this part, to the flywheel. Sometimes these bolts can loosen, and what happened here is that bolt loosened up and dug into the stator. So literally after I had that charging system fail on a previous BMW, this one came in and the bike wouldn't even start because this bolt was entangled inside the motorcycle's stator. So I have seen this happen before. This isn't specific to BMW. Anytime you bolt a starter clutch to your flywheel, you're gonna run into that risk of those bolts backing out. And it's kind of why I recommend you heavily Loctite these and peen the edges over on the backs of the bolts to prevent this from happening as much as you can. But even still, these were peened over, you know, from BMW. These were peened over and they still had backed out and dug into the stator. That's why I'm so excited to show you what's in the box here, because I think it will solve the problem altogether, and it should be a non-issue to those of you that have had the issue and need to fix your bike. All right, now that we have everything unboxed, let's take a look at the old magneto and starter clutch assembly, and then I'll show you the differences with the new style setup and why I think the new style setup is going to work better. Now, if we look at this flywheel here, we have the bolted on starter clutch, and again, like I said, sometimes those bolts are prone to backing out, and if it does that, it's going to destroy quite a bit of your stator. And if we look on the back, the old style starter clutch has a one-way bearing that's a caged bearing, and there's one spring that retains all of these one-way bearings in there. Now, on these, that spring is the common failure item that causes these starter clutches to go out. So, you know, it's not a bad design. This has been used on many bikes for many years, and it works fine on a lot of different bikes. But on this one here, either they just didn't use a strong enough spring, or what I suspect is that spring should have just a little bead of weld on it to keep it from separating, because ultimately that spring in there separates, and then once it does that, these bearings lose all their tension, and then this thing just freewheels on the bike and won't crank it over. So that's what the old style looks like. We'll now look at the new style starter clutch and look at the differences between the two. All right, so the new style, as you can see, is no longer bolted down. So it's no longer a serviceable item. And some of you might think that that's a bad thing, but really a starter clutch should really never go out on your motorcycle. This should never really give you any issues. This starter clutch here should never really give you any issues. So it makes sense to permanently affix it to the back of this flywheel And in the event that something does happen, you just get the flywheel instead of the starter clutch. But yeah, they did away with the bolts to fasten it to the flywheel. And if we turn around to the other side, they also did away with the caged bearing style clutch, and they went to kind of a multi-spring plate setup. I guess that's what you would call those. They're almost like little springy plates there that hold those one-way clutches in. Is it a better design? I guess that'll be yet to be seen, but it looks like you're not going to have one spring fail and cause this starter clutch not to work. So just by the change in design there, I think this is a better design. It's a slightly, I want to say, less destructive design. So if this does fail, it's probably only going to fail in the starter clutches area, and it's not going to take out your entire charging system if something fails here. Like, I don't think a rivet's going to back out and destroy your stator, but I do think a bolt, like it has happened here, will back out and destroy your stator. So I think this is a little bit better of a design, in my personal opinion. Now, the stator, they didn't really make any improvements to the stator. The stator is what it is. It's the same stator, and you know, they just, when you get the stator, it came with the flywheel. I suspect it came as a kit because it's probably a common issue where these bolts back out and destroy the stator. So I think it's kind of one of those things where they're just like, yeah, we'll just give you everything with your stator and we'll fix your problem. Now, if you've ordered these parts and you did order a stator and you got this part to come in, you are going to need a new starter gear set, which is this here. Again, I have all the parts linked in the description below. Now, the reason you need this starter gear set with the newer flywheel is because this, the face area here, and the actual bearing, I guess you wouldn't call this a bearing, but the actual gear itself is larger in diameter than the older style. And if you try and put the older style into the new style, it's not going to work because it's much smaller than a new style. So you need to get this gear set so that it all works together with the new setup. So yeah, it's going to be a little pricey, but I think you're going to have a benefit in upgrading to this set, especially if you have a starter clutch issue. You might want to consider just ordering this whole setup and, you know, potentially making your engine bulletproof, I guess was what I would call it, making it future proof, we'll call that, for many, many years to come. So I will be tracking these bikes and looking to see how well these hold up versus the older style. So I will actually put a marking on the bike to track that it has this new style starter clutch. And I think that newer G310s actually came with this setup. It's just one of those things that maybe it was a happy accident I got these parts, but or maybe they just realized that this was a faulty system and they upgraded to this different style starter clutch setup. Who knows? But I will definitely be checking this out and seeing how this performs versus that. So there's the new starter clutch setup. I am going to be installing that here coming up in the next couple days, so I will get a video out, the part 2 of actually putting the stator in the bike. And yeah, I am working on other G310 stuff, guys. Just give me some time. We just got the bikes in to get serviced, so I will put a video out on some of the questions you had concerning the G310. So I'm not ignoring you guys, but that's going to do it for this video. If you liked the video, as always, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to leave a comment, and thank you guys for subscribing to the channel. I'm Matt. This is Motorworks. We'll see you next time.